So today we're going to dive into this really powerful story about how the sounds and the media of our childhood can shape us for a lifetime, and sometimes in ways we don't even begin to understand until decades later. It's a story about a boy, his father, and a reel-to-reel tape recorder that held both a dream and a really deep-seated fear.
But before we get into it, I want you to think about something for a sec. What sound really takes you back? Is it a song, a TV theme, maybe? Or the sound of a specific gadget? For the man in our story, a guy named Jeffrey, it was the mesmerizing whir of magnetic tape.
Okay, so our story kicks off in the mid-1970s out in Ohio, and it's here that a young boy named Jeffrey becomes absolutely captivated by his father's most prized possession, a machine that held not just sound, but the entire shape of a dream. And you gotta understand, this wasn't just some piece of tech. For his dad, it was everything. It was a library of his ambition to become a sportscaster. The roar of the Ohio State crowd, his own voice practicing his calls, it was all right there, captured on these glistening spools of magnetic tape. I mean, if you're a little kid, this machine is just pure magic, right? The way the reels spin, that delicate tape threading through the guides, it's completely irresistible. So, of course, he does what any curious toddler would do. He reaches out and touches it and starts pulling the tape out like it's this shiny brown taffy. Okay, and this is where everything changes. A simple moment of innocent curiosity is about to become this defining and really painful memory that would alter the course of everything for him. It all happens so fast. It starts with fascination, which leads to this big pile of unspooled tape on the carpet. But when his father walks in and discovers it, well, the reaction was so severe and so sudden that it basically shook the entire house and Jeffrey's entire world right along with it. So from that moment forward, that little blinking red light on the tape deck, yeah, that wasn't a comforting glow anymore. It became a warning sign, a symbol of real danger. The machine wasn't a toy. It was now something to be feared. So years go by, the family breaks apart, and Jeffrey's father is no longer in the picture. But with that big change, the media in the house changes too. And it starts to offer a completely different kind of connection for a young boy who's just trying to make sense of his world. What's so fascinating here is you can see this complete flip in the emotional landscape of the house. The intimidating tech of the reels, which was all about fear, rules, and discipline, gets replaced by these big stacks of vinyl records. And with them came solace and emotion and, a much-needed escape. He basically builds this little protective cocoon for himself out of this new media. He'd stand in front of the mirror, lip-syncing to Neil Diamond, trying to perform this heartbreak that he hadn't even experienced yet. He'd watch The Right Stuff on VHS again and again, finding the stable, heroic father figure in the pilot Chuck Yeager. See, technology wasn't dangerous anymore. It was predictable. It was something he could trust. And then, when he's a teenager, he stumbles onto something, his mom's hidden record collection. And right there, in the grooves of that old vinyl, he finds a new language, a way to finally start understanding his own past. And look, this wasn't just some old pop music from a bygone era. For Jeffrey, these records were like portals. They were a direct line to a past he never knew and a really powerful tool for processing all the complicated feelings he was having in the present. His mom had this little inside joke. Whenever a record would start playing, she'd hum along and say, "I'm waiting for Jeffrey." He just thought it was this quirky little thing she said. It wasn't until he was an adult that he finally understood what she meant. She was literally waiting for him, her son, to come back from that emotional distance the trauma had created all those years ago. And that music, it had this incredible power, In the melancholy strings of a song like Eleanor Rigby, he could finally see the loneliness in his parents' empty chairs. The songs gave him a language for feelings he never had the words for. They turned sound into memory, and eventually into a kind of forgiveness. All right, so let's fast forward. Decades later, we find an adult Jeffrey. He's 52 years old now, living in Los Angeles, and the time has finally come to face that past. In a quiet room, he makes a choice. He decides to restore and digitize the very things that were once the source of all that fear. He's not just preserving old audio here. He is facing that magnetic past head on. As he's carefully working with these old, fragile tapes, meticulously filtering out all the static and the hum of the years, something just incredible happens. Through the speakers comes his father's voice. Young,
ambitious, so full of hope, announcing a Buckeyes game from a lifetime ago, a voice from before all the anger, before the divorce, the voice of a man with a dream.
And right there, in that one single moment, the entire story just clicks into place. The trauma gets transformed into connection. The dangerous object becomes this priceless archive of a person he could finally start to understand. That magnetic loop, which started with so much fear, was finally closed with connection.
And it really makes you think, doesn't it? What voices, what memories, what forgotten dreams are just sitting there, stored on your old tapes or your records, or maybe even on some dusty old hard drives, just waiting for the right moment to be rediscovered.